Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And we have a multi-talented, multifaceted guest this week. I'm going to read you off a few of these things. You're going to know why you want to listen to this episode or watch this episode. But we are going to talk about at the end. I want to tell you, he had some revolutionary things on the health side of the coin as far as how to heal essentially any illness. But this is our guest this week. He helped make one of the biggest breakthrough discoveries ever about cancer cells about 40 years ago. Sadly, it's suppressed here in the U.S. We'll talk about that for sure. He invented a technique that takes away headaches in about 30 seconds. I'm sure a lot of you would like to know about that. He comes from a long line of inventors, right? His family has over 150 patents in his family line. Just a whole litany of things here. Oh, how about this one? We may have time to talk about this. He is a set medic for motion pictures and TV sets. Amazing Race, American Ninja Warrior, Star Wars, SEAL Team, SWAT, and many more. Guys, you got to listen to this. This is going to be great. Our guest this week is Mr. Bob Ross. Bob, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Been looking forward to this conversation for a while. I know I think I connected with you. We connected with you maybe a year or so ago, and we couldn't match things up. But then just recently, it just happened. We had a reschedule, and I think it was last week or something. Usually we're booked out a couple of months usually.
Sure.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, reach out to Bob again. Let's see if we can get him on, if we can happen to get the times lined up. And I'm grateful that it did line up. But this might be a loaded question, Bob, especially from the intro that I just gave. But tell us a bit about your career, your entrepreneurial journey, if you would.
Absolutely. So my name is Bob Ross, which now is a famous name. Little my parents know they're going to give me a famous name, the Bob Ross the painter. So I love my name. Yeah. So I actually, when I went to college, I started as a double major in music and physics, and found out the first week that full time that was a 6-year program. So I focused on physics. And then I went to a medical school to work on a PhD in medical physics, and we'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. But currently, and I was this way as a kid too, I have 6 careers at the same time.
Okay.
Fortunately, now they call that a Renaissance man.
That's right. That's right.
So the first is in entertainment. So I play trumpet and sing professionally. I do stand-up comedy. I do voiceover work. Sometimes standard, in 1994, Los Angeles was overwhelmed, or a character, well, I can't quite tell you what's wrong with you. I know, it's great fun. And then the second career, I volunteer with the Pasadena Fire Department here in California on their EMS reserve, their medical reserve. And I've been volunteering for 36 years, haven't been paid a penny. I tell my friends I save lives for fun. And love it. So one of the things we do is we work on a third person on a paramedic rescue ambulance. We help do all the medical coverage for Rose Bowl events. So UCLA football, concerts, World Cup soccer we've got coming up this summer. So awesome. And I did that to give me the flexibility to do my music and comedy and so forth. Because if you're kind of stuck into a shift schedule, that's difficult. Mm-hmm. And then I started a company started Rescue Education. And then with the comments I was getting, I changed the name to Comedy CPR. So it's kind of like comedy traffic school, except you're learning CPR.
Yeah.
And at the time, and I think this would be very helpful for your folks, at the time, the American Red Cross was the standard for getting these classes. So I would call companies about coming in to train their folks, and they said, well, but you're not the Red Cross. All that. So I realized I needed to come up with a unique selling proposition. And so I came up with a guarantee. So I told them, this will be the best class you've ever had in any area of your company, in the history of your company, or it's free. Oh, really? Well, we'd like a free class. And so they would book it just for that. And that was great. So I combined the comedy and the voices and the great fire department stories, because that's the best way to learn.
Sure.
Especially through stories, right? And even with my name, Bob Ross, it's really become popular these days with the young people. And I had a patient who was having an emotional breakdown, and she was on the phone with like a suicide hotline thing, and so very calmly got her name, and I said, well, guess what my name is? So by asking that question, it got her out of that spiral, right?
Yeah.
And she looked up and saw Ross. She goes, Ross, yeah, what's my first name? No way, Bob? You're Bob Ross? I'm Bob Ross. That can't be. So she turned to the crew and said, is he really Bob Ross? He's Bob Ross. And I said, now you can tell your friends Bob Ross saved you.
That's right.
And again, she's on the phone. She tells the suicide hotline people, Bob Ross is saving me. I don't need you anymore. And hangs up. So it's great. So, so as you mentioned, the fourth career is as a motion picture set medic. So movies, television shows, commercials, music videos, for when stunts go wrong, things blow up, people get electrocuted, medical emergencies happen all the time. Very, very dangerous. And one of the things you mentioned is I was the lead medic on American Ninja Warrior for, I think, 4 or 5 seasons. I was so busy on that show. And the most challenging show I worked on, Jackass 4.
Really?
Yes.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say it like that. I should say really. Yeah, I kind of can see that. Those guys are crazy.
Great. They were wonderful. Great people. Great people. But, a lot of times my job is to prevent stunts from going wrong and people getting hurt. But we want to get hurt. That's part of the whole show. That's why I literally have my gloves on almost. Yeah, I almost have my gloves on almost all the time. So I have to tell you this funny story. Mm-hmm. So I was working on a live show, prime time, major network. Can't tell you which one, of course. And did I mention it was live? So during the live show, the boom camera gets those great aerial shots, is making a quick move over the audience, too low. A guy stood up in the audience.
Oh, no.
Clocked him in the head. So I get there, he's on the ground, he's just dazed, blood dripping down his head. So I'm trying to stop his bleeding and stabilize him. And I hear my earpiece from the director, Bob Medic, keep your head down. We can see you on camera. What? We're still live? We're still live. Keep your head down. So I'm literally laying on my belly on the ground trying to help this guy. And about 10 seconds later, I hear, Bob Medic, tell the guy to quit moaning. We can hear him on audio. Tell him to shut up.
In the meantime, the guy's like, hey, I'm in pain here, man. Give me a break. That's right.
Yeah. Welcome to Hollywood. We have our priorities straight. And then my fifth career is I have a real gift with emotional healing. So healing post-traumatic stress disorder, phobias, addictions. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, how that's actually important in business. Okay? And then my fifth career is I've started a coaching program for cancer patients because of my background and history with that.
Yeah. So I think we could do a show on each one of the careers probably, but fascinating stuff. I definitely want to make sure that guys, again, Bob Ross, go out and check out his website. And we'll put this in the show notes as well, but the hidden secret to healing.com, the hidden secret to healing.com. We're going to continue talking with Bob. Obviously, we're going to hit a break here coming up. We're going to talk about in the next segment. I want to focus in on the cancer research that he did that was so long ago. And I know we've done some shows about my frustration with the medical process in this country. So we're going to talk about that after the break.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, talking with Mr. Bob Ross, multifaceted, as he said, Renaissance man. Love that. Love that term. So, Bob, let's dive into this because, we've had some guests on, talked about sort of the medical, how medicine works in the United States, and I've got some frustrations with that. And I feel like a lot of times not a lot of times. I mean, it seems like the majority of the time we treat the symptom and not the problem, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, hey, what's the root cause of what the heck is going on here, instead of reactively of handling the situation. It frustrates the crap out of me. So I'm very curious to hear about your cancer research, especially because it was done so long ago. And I've heard all of these things about, cancer research that have been done, again, like you were mentioning 40 years ago, a long, long time ago. And it's like, how has this not come to fruition? How has not a lot of these things not come to light?
Mm-hmm.
How much is big pharma playing in that? I'm not trying to be a tinfoil hat guy, but at some point I start to really wonder about these things. So tell us a little bit about that cancer research you did and sort of what that looked like.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I've had a passion to help people since I was 6 years old. I had a siren on my bicycle. I'd ride around the neighborhood bandaging people up, even if they didn't need it. Right. And I've never lost that. I just have a real compassionate heart to help people in all areas of life, physically, spiritually, relationally, emotionally. And so when I was getting my undergraduate degree in physics, it was a concentration, a specialty in nuclear physics. I found out about the field of medical physics, and one of the areas of medical physics is cancer treatment. So I went to a PhD program in a medical school, and part of the PhD, you have to do original research, and I was doing this research, and was part of a team that discovered what we call the hyperthermia effect. So we discovered if you increase the temperature of cancer cells, it made them weaker. Oh, wait a second. So if you heated the body before a treatment, you could use less chemotherapy, less radiation. Right? And you can do that through sauna, although it's not as effective because it comes from the outside. Nowadays, we have infrared, which is great because it goes deep. It's good for general health anyways, good for all sorts of things. But if you did that, in fact, we couldn't, well, you'll find out why we couldn't figure out exact percentage, but we expected a huge reduction in the need for the amount of chemo or radiation. And unfortunately, it was basically suppressed in the US. And as I learned, as I continued on, that it went 80, let's say it was 80% less. Well, then that's 80% less profit.
Right.
And I even heard the phrase, it's the business of medicine, it's not healthcare in the US. But I got into medicine to help people.
Right.
Now, since we were published, if you go anywhere in the world where medicine isn't for profit, like Germany, East Asia, Mexico, the first thing they do is heat up your body. Usually the last thing they do, rarely do, is chemoradiation.
Mm-hmm.
So first, let me make this very important disclaimer. I'm going to read it. This conversation is not to be construed as medical advice. Always consult a healthcare professional prior to starting or changing any treatment program. It's very important. But I say healthcare provider, someone who actually knows how the body heals and helping the body heal, because that was the key. I was actually diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it was a very unique thing, and they had a whole team of neurologists working on it and all that. Never once did they ask me about the cause. Never once.
Yeah.
Never. And my understanding, especially as I went through the program, by the way, I spent a total of 11 years in school, finished my internship, and I walked away from the field. In fact, that's why I got into emergency medicine, because we're the best in the world for emergency medicine. For healing people that are sick, we're like 28th in the world. How embarrassing.
Yeah.
So what was I going to say? Ooh, I hate it when brain cells die in public.
You talk about you had a tumor.
Oh, yes.
And then I asked you about the cause. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the analogy came. If you had a radioactive cobalt underneath your bedroom floor. You moved into a new apartment and you didn't know it was underneath there. That would give you cancer, right? So you go get treated, and let's say you are now cancer-free, but you come back to your apartment, you're going to get cancer again.
Right.
Unless you get to the cause, then, it's not going to work. So, and that was one of my big frustrations, was not finding the cause and not helping the body heal. Now, the way that chemo and radiation work is they're trying to kill the cancer cells without killing the patient. But then that weakens the immune system. So now, how's the body supposed to get rid of the dead cancer cells? And since it weakens the immune system, now you might get a cold that goes to pneumonia
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the motivation, in fact, for starting my coaching program for cancer patients, of all the things I learned. So here's a good example. In biology, every cell needs an environment. I remember high school biology, the Petri dish, right? Mm-hmm. If it doesn't have the environment it needs, the cell's going to die. Well, cancer cells have the same requirements. Mm-hmm. So the three big things are: they need an acidic environment, low oxygen levels, right? Healthy cells need high oxygen levels. So you flood cancer cells with oxygen, it can kill the cancer cells. So we should be using a hyperbaric chamber for cancer patients because that forces that oxygen in. And the third thing is it needs especially refined processed sugar.
Okay.
So, and cancer cells are like very selfish, and they literally steal glucose from the rest of the body. That's why people often waste away. Okay, you go into the hospital for cancer treatment. Guess what they feed you? Coke, ice cream, Jell-O that's just laced with refined processed sugar, which is feeding the cancer cells.
Yeah.
So
they're trying to give you comfort food, but it's counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. And again, if in medical school they really don't teach much about nutrition, right? Oh, you can get everything from
which is crazy in and of itself. Like, to me, that just blows my mind.
It does.
That's the root of all this stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff we're talking about,
Yes, absolutely. So, and again, it's not doctors' fault, right? They're trained in a certain way. There are restrictions that the FDA has, right? They have to do only what's authorized, right? And that's why many people will go down to Mexico or Germany or East Asia to get real treatment that actually helps the body heal. I don't know if you know this, but we actually get cancer cells every single day.
Yeah.
Cancer, that's part of nature's process. But our immune system, if it's healthy, detects it, produces interferon, interleukin, antineoplasms, or anti-cancer drugs, and takes care of it. So the problem with our American diet and being under stress and the pollution and all the processed foods is it weakens our immune system, and now the cancer pops up and it doesn't have enough strength to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, like I said, we got to hit another break here, but it's just the whole process. And we just had we had a guest on, Dr. Lufkin. Actually, he's out in your neck of the woods, Bob. He's a professor at UCLA and USC. He wrote a book called "The Lies I Taught in Medical School." Another controversial type of thing here, but again, this week, guys, we're talking with Mr. Bob Ross. You can find out more at his website, thehidden-secret-to-healing.com. We'll come back after the break and continue talking with Bob.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20-plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show, and it's payoff time, Bob. All right, we had a lot of good stuff there. Got a lot of good information so far, but I know you have talked about, and I know when I was doing some prep for the show, talking about your ability to, you like to help people and things like that since you're 6 with your little siren on your little bike. But helping people heal from essentially any type of illness. And I have a feeling that's going to be a lot of what a segue from what we just talked about concerning cancer and some of the environment and everything. But tell us some of those things, maybe some practical things that we could do that we could start to put into our everyday lives to help with those things. And or if we do have some type of illness, what can we do to sort of alleviate the problems?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I want to touch on is actually intuition.
Okay.
So we know our bodies better than anybody else, and we'll get that sense that something's wrong. We might not even have any physical symptoms. We could just, something's off, right? We need to pay attention to that. Now, women have a better ability to pick up what I call intuitive hits. I get them all the time. To be at a certain place at a certain time to save somebody who'd have died otherwise. I'll literally hear, go to gate E, or go to the north end of the Rose Bowl, or turn here. Why would I turn here, right? And then I'm first on scene to somebody all the time. So in business, when you're trying to solve a problem, the brain works on questions. So when you try to solve a problem, especially right before you go to sleep, ask, so what is the solution to this problem? Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes it'll be in the morning, and sometimes like during the next day, you'll get an idea. And the problem is people will get that idea and they don't do anything with it. Right? So that's a huge thing for folks in business. Absolutely. But one of the things I discovered in working with cancer patients, and it's true with all serious medical problems, it turns out, 80 to 85% had unresolved emotional trauma.
Okay.
Now, if you think about just even being nervous, does that affect your physiology?
Of course,
absolutely. Yeah. And if you're really nervous, it actually suppresses your immune system. Even if you're worried about something that couldn't even happen. I think a bear is going to go through my door. If you believe it, you're going to have that negative response, right? So kind of like the concept of the radioactive cobalt, if we don't treat that, if we don't resolve that emotional trauma, then we're not going to have success. So the website for my for the emotional healing is The Hidden Secret to Emotional Healing versus The Hidden Secret to Healing, just for medical stuff, in particular for cancer patients. So are you familiar with the placebo effect?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So people get a sugar pill, but they think it's a real drug, and they get healed. But they weren't given anything. If they're told about the side effects, they'll have side effects, but they weren't given anything, which means the mind has that ability, and we don't use it in medicine. In fact, we often do this the opposite. Oh, you're going to be dead in 6 weeks.
Right.
Well, even if that's not true, that could actually become true because of how we think. We start to shut down our body. It's just crazy making. Well, let's use it in the positive.
Yeah, and I had someone, not to cut you off, but on the opposite side of things, where someone in my family that was given a medication for something, an ailment they had, and they focused on the potential side effects. Well, wouldn't you know it, 3 days later, he starts to complain about this and about that, and had himself convinced that he had a brain tumor because that was one of the side effects. Now, that might have been a side effect of 0.001% of people that had ever taken that medication, but he had himself convinced. So he started to have headaches. He started to have and so he freaked out, went and had scans done and all this other stuff because he had convinced himself, because he got so fixated on all these potential side effects that, like, well, of course I'm going to get one of these things. One of these things is going to happen to me. And he was completely fine, thank goodness. But that was a real life example I saw in my own family.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know, the opposite of the placebo effect is the nocebo effect. So you can be given a treatment that's 100% successful, but if you don't believe it's going to work, you can actually prevent it from working.
Interesting.
Again, that's the mind. That's how powerful that is. And I remember I grew up in a wonderful Christian home. I mean, kids flocked to our homes because it's full of love and joy, and right? And I could never understand in Scripture why God asked for our faith in physical healing. Well, why does God need my faith? Is God saying, oh, if only Bobby Boy would believe I could pull this off? That never made sense. And nobody could answer because, well, that's one of the mysteries, right? And then I got it. So it turns out the people that get the placebo effect are those that had faith. They truly believed that it was the real drug. And this is the download I got, is that means that God has put into us that miraculous healing ability, and it's like water in a pipe. It's already there. And what turns it on, opens the spigot, is faith and belief, which is very difficult, especially if you have something serious, right? So on my website, thehiddensecrettohealing.com, there's a free 45-minute masterclass that talks about this, some of the great breakthroughs, how to help the process of using your subconscious mind. And the other thing is that in our subconscious mind is where our beliefs are. And if you have a belief, and I had a friend who had this belief, that he wasn't worthy of being healed. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter what treatment. In fact, that's exactly what happened, right? Or another time when another friend of mine, his early childhood was terrible. He didn't feel loved, and he just loved all the attention he got when he got diagnosed with cancer. So guess what? He didn't want to get healed. He wanted to in his conscious mind, but subconscious, where the beliefs are, is like, oh, I've wanted this all my life.
Oh yeah.
So
wow.
But even in business, we can have limiting beliefs. I had my own. I was sabotaging every project that I was laid in my lap, right? Because it turns out I had a fear of success. Now, consciously, no.
Right,
And
of
again,
course not.
it almost always stems from early childhood, right? And I was sabotaging until I discovered this. And in the webinar, we'll talk about a great therapy. It's called EFT, also known as tapping. I actually studied with the guy who developed it for like 6 years. I can usually help a person cure phobia in one session, sometimes more. Post-traumatic stress or all that. And so for me, I was limiting my success financially. Well, we do that physically as well. So what we need to do, and the EFT is a great process, but I actually invented a brain technique that helps do that. So then that's not in the way. And when I did that on myself, because that's why I first developed this, is to help me, you would not believe the amazing things that just kind of fell into my lap. And then I actually took them and ran with them. And that's why I have 6 careers right now.
There you go. So how much, and we've only got about a minute left here, actually less than a minute, but it sounds like a lot of this stuff, how much is manifestation is kind of fits into this? Is that a square peg in a round hole, or is there's some link to that?
There is link to that. You know, people that have, the term just escaped me, but they think they're always getting sick. And they will actually make themselves sick. There's nothing, no viruses, no anything. Right. And again, the opposite can be true. So like even visualizing in your treatment, whatever treatment you're getting, visualizing it working actually magnifies the benefit of it. So that's why I encourage people to work with like a pathologist, not a pathologist, a naturopath, someone who studies natural medicine, things in nature that actually help the body heal. Right. And then they'll do other things if needed, you know, to cover that. But that's the whole key. Help the body heal.
Yeah. Great stuff, Bob. We're out of time here, but I really appreciate you coming on. Again, the hidden secret to healing.com. Bob, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.